morning, everyone. I'm Sam Rattling, and welcome to today's webinar about 100 content ideas to help you to really smash your posts on the LinkedIn newsfeed. This is part of a series of free training sessions that I'm doing to help you to make money and not noise from the LinkedIn platform. So good morning, everyone. It would be great for you to share in the chat box where you're coming in from. I'm looking forward to today's session. There's already so many of you here. As I look down, so great to see you. Morning. Hi, Anne-Marie, Jason, Pamela. Good morning, Meg. Hi there, Beth. Good morning. Wow, amazing. Great to see so many of you here. So I love talking about this topic. It's going to be a very practical session today. It's going to be all about giving you tons and tons and tons of content ideas for you to come away from this and be able to just not ever worry about like what you're going to post on that news feed. So good morning. We've got Essex, Birmingham, Amsterdam. Good morning, Leanne. So we've got loads of you here today. So because of time, I'm going to get started. We should be stopping around the 10 o'clock mark UK time. I will be staying on for questions. So if you have a specific question, then you want to use the Q&A box for that. So I'll come to those at the end, but I'm just going to start and get started with all of this great content around content creation. So let's have a look here. So 100 content ideas in 30 minutes. Do you reckon I can do it? I hope I can. So these are a part of a series of free training events that I'm doing. I've done a few other ones. They're all up on my YouTube channel if you want to catch the ones previous. If this is your first time here, you're very welcome. So let's start with a question. I've got a poll for you, and I kind of want to know where you're at the moment when it currently comes to content creation. So I'm going to launch a poll. It's got 3 questions. And the first question is, do you struggle to come up with content ideas? Yes, sometimes, or no, you find it super easy. The second is, do you get inbound leads from your content? So do you post on the newsfeed and do people actually message you saying, I would like to have a conversation with you? So that might be yes all the time. It might be sometimes, but just not enough. And maybe some of you are just going, I have never had an inbound lead on LinkedIn. And the final one there is, do you wish you could get more visibility and more engagement on your posts? Now, I'm happy to answer questions about that at the minute. Impressions and engagement are kind of on the floor at the moment on LinkedIn, but there are still ways to get your posts seen by more people, more engagement on them, etc. So we can cover some of that today as well. So let's just see what the poll is doing. I shall end that poll and share the results with you. For those of you watching on YouTube, I'll just share, because the ones that you here watching, you'll actually be able to see it. So 73% of you sometimes struggle to come up with content ideas, and 22% yes, always. And 5% of you find it easy, which is good. But hopefully if you do find it easy, I'm just going to give you even more ideas today. No one said that they're always getting leads. So obviously, if you do create good content, there are lots of things that drive whether or not you get inbound leads, not just content. But it's good to know that some of you are getting them, 49%, but 51% of you have never had an inbound lead. Okay, so I want to help you create content that's actually going to connect with your target market, connect with your ideal client, and compel them to want to come forward. So if you have a specific question, if you can use the Q&A box for me. I am going to keep an eye on the chat box, but not so much. So if you have a specific question, put it in there. And yes, all of you wish you could get more visibility. Good. You're in the right place. Fantastic. Okay, good. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is I want to share this kind of analogy with you when it comes to content. So imagine, right, this is a florist. It's very obviously a florist. It's a flower shop. You can go in there and buy all sorts of things. So this is going to be quite an interactive part of this session. So most people, when it comes to content, they talk about their business, their product, their solution, right? So in this situation, that is the shop, right? Most people talk about their business, their product, or their solution when it comes to their content. And if you think about the florist, there are lots and lots of things that a florist could talk about. So what type of things could a florist talk about when it comes to their business? Use the chat box for me to give me some ideas. It's not a trick question, by the way. What type of things could a florist talk about when it comes to their content? Yeah, gifting, right? So that's a really good one. So all the different ways that you can use flowers for gifts, flowers that are particularly in season, the origin of them, flower arrangements, seasonal ideas, all those things, exactly how to look after them, size, color, how to care for them, all of these things, right? But most people, when it comes to their content, are focused so much on what can I post about my business, my product, or my solution. So the way that I want you to think about your business and your content creation is, if you take the florist example, that she or he could talk about all the different occasions that you would use flowers for, right? That could be one big topic that they could talk about: birthdays, funerals, weddings, I'm sorry, to their spouse, like all lots of different things like that. They could also talk about flower arrangements, right? That's another big topic that they could talk about. But within that, there would be lots and lots of things that they could share around flower arrangements. They could talk about the different species of flowers. So let's take roses for an example. There are probably hundreds of different species of rose out there. So they could talk about a particular group of flowers and then kind of go into much more detail on those particular flowers. But then if you take just one flower, let's just take a rose as an example. What could the florist talk about in relation to one tiny rose, like one stem, one flower? What could they talk about with that? They could talk about the color, they could talk about the leaf, they could talk about why their rose is better and will last longer than the one that you got from the garage. Its origin, absolutely, Ida. So there's lots of different things that you could talk about, and I call these like little tiny slithers of information. And when you're looking at your content, I want you to think kind of big picture first, like what are those big kind of macro topics that you could talk about, but then within each one there are so many strands or tiny slithers of information that you could drip feed into the newsfeed that would help you to expand knowledge and educate people about those different slithers. So when it comes to your own content and your own business, I want you to keep this analogy in mind, because so many of you think, oh, I can't come up with content ideas. How many ways can I talk about, this product, this solution, this part of my business? But actually, there are so many tiny, small things that you could talk about. And when you're putting content onto the newsfeed, I want you to imagine that every one of those is like you planting a seed. And over time, the compound effect of you posting content is that that's going to get nurtured. It's going to actually build up over time if someone's following you to lots of tiny drip feeds of seeds that are going to be planted, and eventually they nurture to a point where someone goes, actually, I've been following this person for a while. I'm going to drop them a message. Because social selling and LinkedIn is all about staying top of mind, staying visible, and being very credible, so that when someone is ready to buy from you, they think of you first. So they may be not looking right now when you connect with them for your product or solution, right? They just aren't in the buying window when you connect with somebody. So you can't just send them a message, pitch them, and hope that they're going to be ready to buy. It's going to take some time for them to get to know you, get to know who you are, get to understand your business, etc. And in maybe 3 months or 6 months from now, when they are looking for a solution or they do have a particular problem they want to solve, they think of your business first because you're the one that's been showing up. You're the one that's been educating them. You're the one that's been consistently showing up, social proof, etc. Right? There's lots of ways to do this, but I want you to think about your content in those terms. So I call this first stage macro topics. Okay, so I'm going to get you to think about your macro topics. These are the big, wide, kind of bigger pillars of content that you could talk about with your own business. You'd ideally want to have between 5 and 8 macro topics that you could talk about. So big picture, big subjects that you could talk about. So let me give you mine as an example, and then I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to write down your own. So my content pillars would be these. So Sales Navigator, it's a big macro topic. I talk about it a lot. It's something I specialize in. And I could literally, I've got 25 hours of content on Sales Navigator. So I could write content all day long and for the next year on the subject of Sales Navigator. But the macro topic up there is Sales Navigator. All of my 25 hours of content is broken down into little slithers. So that's the micro stuff. I talk about personal branding, content strategy, pipeline building, prospecting, LinkedIn profiles, LinkedIn marketing. So these are like my big macro topics. So they're things I have education, knowledge and expertise in that I over time have developed that knowledge. So I'd like you to spend 2 minutes. I'm just going to stop the share just now. I'd like you to spend 2 minutes just writing down some of those big macro topics that you could share content about for your business. And then if you feel like sharing, pop it into the chat box for me. Okay, so I'll give you 2 minutes to do that. Hopefully you're getting on all right. I'll give you 1 more minute to go. And then if you have already started, I can see some of them coming through on the chat box already. Really struggling with this. Okay, so aiming for those living with dementia in care homes. So think about, Emma, for you, like think about the different aspects of dementia, right? So dementia would be a macro topic, right? In general, care homes would be another one, right? So think about this in very broad terms to begin with, okay? So think about maybe the families, like that could be another big macro topic that you could talk about. So the families living with dementia, the dementia as a whole macro topic on its own, care homes is another one, etc. So don't think about the audience as such, think about the topics that surround your audience. Okay, great, we've got some good ones there. Nice job, Rory. Jason, good job. Perfect. Great, Celeste, thank you. Amazing, amazing. Oh, look, there's all networking going on in the chat box as well. Love that. Criminology. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited about criminology. I'm like addicted to true crime and crime things on Netflix, and my childminder is studying criminology and forensic science, and it's amazing. I'm very excited about that. So let's have a look. Values, limiting beliefs. Okay, good. Well done, Ben. Great. Awesome, awesome. Right. So these are your big macro topics. Okay. So that's just to get into your head about like, what are the big topics that you could talk about? Now, you may not get it today, but come away from here and like work on that in terms of those macro topics. So think about what topics are going to appeal to your ideal client. What core topics could you post about, right? Now, the micro topics, this is where you're going to dive deep into one of those or multiple ones of those topics. So thinking about one of those that you'd find it easy to create content about, pick one of those ones that you've listed as a macro topic. And now what I want you to do is I want you to spend some time thinking about what are all the different things you could literally almost brainstorm it. What are all the different things that you could come up with to talk about within that particular topic? So let me give you an example. So if one of my macro topics is a LinkedIn profile, I might talk about the featured section, your headshot, professional headlines, the profile video, creator mode, about section, keywords in profiles, the 20 different elements of a LinkedIn profile. They could all be different micro topics. Every single one of them is a micro topic. So I haven't put them all on screen, but you get the idea. I can start to kind of break down my big macro topic into micro topics underneath it. So I'd like you to have a go at doing that as well. Mine looks like this, so I don't want to freak you out, but I have mine on a spreadsheet. I have my big macro topic on the left-hand side, and then I have my micro topics inside the next column. Okay, so I'm not going to put that on screen because I'll just talk about that in a second. But what you're trying to get here is ideally more than 10 micro topics within one macro topic. Okay, so let's go with that. So everybody clear what you need to do? So you take a big macro topic and then you go, right, all the different things, tiny slithers. Remember the flowers and the stem and the leaves and the species and all of those things. What are the micro topics that you could break down for your own business? I'll give you another 2 minutes to do that. Yeah, if you're struggling to do this kind of like on the spot, it's something you can take away and do afterwards. Like you take what Ben's done in the chat box, so like culture is one of his big macro topics, but I can already see there's certain things within culture that Ben's already started to kind of list out. So culture, brand, voice, etc., and experience. So there are lots of things within each one. So if you're struggling to do it on the spot, that's fine. Just have a go at maybe coming up with 3. Okay, so 3 different things that you could come up with. If you're struggling to hit 10, just get at least 3 done. So with you, Jason, like, so workspace moves and office moves is like the big macro topic. Now think about all the different things that like your ideal client has to think about. So, you know, when to move, how to move, all the logistical things that they need to think about. All of the, you know, people when it comes to moves, things like that. So there's lots of different things within that around an office move. So like all the different things that someone would have to consider if they were going to move from one building to another, for example. So there's lots of things you could do with that. Yeah, great, Celeste. So the difference between copyrights and trademarks. Perfect. That is a nice micro topic that you could talk about within the wider topic for sure. Yeah, perfect, Linda. Oh my goodness, I'm totally going to follow your content. I love it. Amazing. Really, really good stuff, right? So it takes some time, but it you know, you can start to, you know, think about it yourself. However, there are some other things. Oh, they're all coming through now. Brilliant. Well done, Philippa. Great. So talent acquisition, personal brand, business brand, reputation, package, benefits, culture, values. Like there's so much when you start to really kind of think about this. And imagine if you put down like 8 to 10 macro topics, and then you went away and did this for every single one of those macro topics. You're going to come up with, potentially 50, 100, 150, 200 micro topics on each one of those. And when you really start to think about it and go deep on all of those topics, you'll start to really kind of understand that there is so much you could talk about when it comes to that. Now, I'm going to give you a helping hand on a few of these because it can be quite difficult to just do it with your own brain. So I'm going to give you some help in terms of how you can actually come up with something. Now, there's a great website called Answer the Public, which is answerthepublic.com. Now, you can go to Answer the Public. On the free version, you get one search a day on one IP address. So you can go to answerthepublic.com, and then you could type in your big macro topic that you talk about, and Answer the Public will come up with a selection of things that the public are typing into search engines on this particular topic. So this is an example on the word LinkedIn, for example. You can see around the outside, there are lots of questions that people are asking about that particular topic. So if you are stuck and you're like, oh, I have no idea what to write about. So let's take copyright, Celeste, because you were struggling. You could go to the word copyright, and you could find all of these different things that people are typing and asking about when it comes to copywriting. So not copywriting, but copyrights. Okay. So when it comes to that, you could go and find in Answer the Public, and you can pull up all these different questions that people are asking. And that will give you more ideas as to how you can break down your content slithers. That's a little tip for you. Another tip for you is, if you've never read this book, it's amazing. It's called They Ask, You Answer. And it's by a gentleman called Marcus Sheridan. He's written a book all around how to come up with content ideas around your business, but it's largely based on the type of questions that your prospects ask you. So my recommendation is, number one, go get the book. But secondly, I would also start listening every time you're having a conversation or a sales meeting with a prospect. Think about all the questions and extract the questions that you get asked, because they're common things that all of your ideal clients will have in common, and you can start to formulate content around those things as well. So it's really important that you're paying attention to the questions that people are asking when you're in those sales meetings, because that's very, very easy then to pull that and actually create content about it. Now, another thing that you can do when it comes to content, because what we focused on so far is the business kind of macro topics, but I also want you to think about from a personal perspective, what are the big topics that you champion? Like, what do you feel really passionate about that you can be out there talking about, and what can you champion? So for me, I have 3 big things that I champion. So the first thing is, I'm a single mom, and I talk a lot about being a single parent, running a business at the same time, juggling all the hats, spinning all the plates, all that kind of stuff. I've got some teenagers and a preteen, so it's kind of challenging, but being a single mom is something I'm really passionate about, and I'm really a big champion for single parents, single moms in particular. Secondly, I've overcome a lot of adversity in my lifetime, and I like talking about where I've come from, struggles, how to overcome adversity, those kind of things. And the last thing is, I made the decision to become Sober Sam on the 31st of December 2022. So I do talk about sobriety as well, and I do champion that because it's made such a massive difference to my life. So these are 3 big topics that I champion, that I talk about actively on the newsfeed. Now, before you go and kind of figure out what yours might be, and this may take you some time, but not everyone's comfortable sharing personal stuff on the newsfeed. I get that. But think about what you could champion. Are you actively involved in, I don't know, working with a charity or volunteering or something like that outside of work? Maybe it's something that is completely not related to what you actually do, but it's something you feel very passionate about, for example. So these are the most popular posts I've posted over the last 365 days, basically. And not one of them is related to LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, social selling. They are all my personal posts, subjects related to my 3 things that I champion, right? So you can see here, these are my top posts. This is my 100 days sober post. This is again another sobriety one. This is overcoming adversity. This is overcoming adversity. The top two, same with the third one. So you can see there that my top performing posts are all related to the things that I champion. Now, you might be thinking, well, what's the point in posting personal stuff? Because I really want people to see my business stuff. But actually, when it comes to posting on the newsfeed, if you can get people to interact with your personal posts, what they are telling the algorithm is that they want to see more from you in the newsfeed. So if I can get 43,000 impressions on a particular post and I get lots of engagements, lots of comments, lots of interactions, the next time I post something that is related to LinkedIn, social selling, etc., then it will definitely allow me to get into more people's news feeds, for example. Now, I can see some questions coming up in the chat box here. Please use the Q&A box because I'll answer those questions at the end. And I will come to those different things, but the chat box is moving quite quickly and I can't get to all of them, okay? But there are some particular questions that I'd love to answer. So, right. So they are things that you champion. Now, they don't have to be like big, deep personal things. I've chosen to be quite vulnerable on the newsfeed. The thing is, in terms of like being like linking personal and business, I always try and share lessons that are going to be useful. I always try and inspire somebody or always try and use it to help people. That's my kind of big focus with personal posts. Ultimately, if somebody makes a big life-changing decision off the back of one of my posts, I've done my job. If somebody has had massive inspirational help or support from something I've posted, I've done my job as well. And that need only be one person per post. You know, it doesn't have to be lots of people. So I think the thing around personal and business, you definitely need to be putting some personal stuff onto the newsfeed because people buy people at the end of the day. So it's important that you are doing a combination of those two. So I'd like you to maybe have a think about, just for a minute, maybe one thing that you could champion that is not work related. So have a think about that. Share it in the chat box if you want to. Like Philippa, you've talked about overcoming horrendous bullying at school and in the workplace. Yeah, absolutely. Caring for your 101. Oh, no, that's awesome. Yeah, mum of twins, Emma, that's awesome. Being more human in business. I like that, Ben, because it really links with your work stuff as well, but it's a topic that you can talk about passionately, which is good. Community radio, love it. Getting fitter, arts for everyone. Okay, perfect working mom. Like there's so many of these different things. If you look at most of the top viral posts on the platform, if you look at there's a lady called Samantha, also called Samantha. She works for Nike. She's their like social media manager. She has built this huge personal brand on LinkedIn. She gets about 7 million impressions for Nike for their business through her personal brand. And if you look at the three things she champions working parents, she champions mental health and overcoming adversity. They're her kind of three big topics. But the posts that do really well from her are ones where 2 out of those 3 are hit. So usually my posts around overcoming adversity and sobriety do quite well, or ones around overcoming adversity and being a single parent come up quite well. So if all of those kind of things also need to come through in your content, but there are also ways for you to create more content ideas. So do the same exercise after today that you've done with the macro topics and treat each one of those topics that you champion as a macro topic as well. And then you'll be able to come up with lots of ideas when it comes to that side of things. Now, I'm conscious of time. There are 20 different content themes that you can post about. So there's educational posts, there's inspirational posts. You can post about social proof. You can post about, the fact that you're recruiting or the fact that you're hiring. There's so many different things that you can use. You can jack the newsfeed. Like if you look in the top right-hand corner of LinkedIn's newsfeed, you'll see that there are topics that people are like they're trending topics. If one of those topics is trending and you do a post about it in the same period of time that it's trending, that again is another great source of content ideas. So there's some posts up there at the moment about work from home. There's some posts up there about different things. They may or may not be related to your business, but are you looking at the top trending featured news articles and thinking, oh, I could do a post about that? So many places, content is literally everywhere. Another little tip for you is your camera on your phone gallery on your phone. If you're ever stuck for an idea for content, go back like a couple of years into your phone and find a photo that's inspiring to you that you could create a piece of content about. Maybe it's a challenging time in your life. maybe I came up with one the other, it was about a year ago now. I was looking through my phone gallery because I was like stuck for content, and I found a picture of my daughter watching Finding Nemo. And I was like, oh, that's a great analogy. Like, there are lots of different people on LinkedIn that are like all the different fish and the different characters inside Finding Nemo, and everybody's seen Finding Nemo, right? Or most people have. So I did this whole post about how all the different types of people on LinkedIn relate to the different characters in Nemo, and it was inspired by a photo in my phone gallery. So there's loads and loads and loads of different ways for you to come up with lots of different content ideas. Philippa says people call you Dory. I love that. Awesome. So I'm going to go to Q&A. I see there's quite a few questions in there just now, apart from the fact that I was on mute in the beginning. So I apologize for that. So Ida, you've said in your own example for micro topics, is that ultimately yielding material for a book? So I actually have 2 books, Ida. So a lot of the content micro topics are like mini sub chapters in my book. So I've got Linked Inbound and Watch This Space, because Linked Outbound is coming out before the end of the week. So my next book is about to launch. So they are almost like mini topics within my book. So yes, but if you do this exercise, any of you could literally come up with a book idea for that. So James, you said, do you not think personal posts could affect if people would decide not to do business with you as a result? It can happen. I have had it actually happen this week. I was messaging about these free training sessions, and I have on my LinkedIn profile that I'm a champion for single mums. And this lady came back to me and said, thank you so much for offering to do these free trainings. However, as somebody who can't have children, our values aren't aligned, and I don't think I could work with somebody who is a champion for single moms and is clearly a parent, right? So she was very strong about the fact that she didn't want to learn from me because of that, which is fine. But she was never going to be a client anyway, right? So you're always going to have people that you'll draw towards you because of certain things, and it will push away for certain things. I'm always thinking like, should I share this? Should I not share this? But actually, the more vulnerable and authentic you are, the more real you are on the newsfeed, the more likely you are to attract people towards you. And you're never going to be everybody's cup of tea, and just accept that. And those people that don't align are, we're never going to be clients anyway for you. So no worries, Sally. I know a few of you got to go, which is fine. We're on the hour, but I will stay on to answer the rest of these questions. So let's go here. Eva, you said, how much time did this take you, and how do you do it to avoid getting burned out, particularly when the algorithms change constantly? So for me, content doesn't really have to take very much time at all. I recommend posting at least 3 times a week. So that's the kind of volume that you want to be thinking about. So that's 12 posts in a month, right? I do need to be quite inspired to write. And I don't necessarily like sit down and write all my posts in one go and then schedule them all out. Like, I kind of have to be in the mood to write, and I'm different to everybody else. You may be the same. You may be like quite spontaneous and do it on the fly. But for me, I really I think everybody's different. So just do what suits you best. I know Chris, my business partner, he sits down like on a Sunday and he'll literally like bang out 12, 15 posts, and then he'll put them all out for the month. But like, I can't do that. That's just not my style at all. So, a poll, for example, doesn't have to take long. I did a poll yesterday about the education system, blown up. It's like thousands of impressions, loads and loads of comments, and it took me like 10 seconds to write the post. If you're going to sit down and write an article, or you're going to sit down and record a video, then it will take you longer. But if you think about, all those different topics you could type about, if I'm going to create a document post, like a PDF, like to create a carousel of some description, that would take me longer. It might take me 20 minutes to do that. But, you can post on the fly with posts and videos and pictures and things like that. So just depends on your week. It doesn't have to take very long. Shouldn't be taking you more than 10, 15 minutes really at all for one decent post. Leanne, your company provides a lot of content, but I find that with everyone else in my company posting the same post, the only visibility I'm getting on any other posts are colleagues. Right. So a little pro tip for you, Leanne, and everybody else. Before you post, go comment on 5 to 10 other people's posts before you post. Because what that will do is it will put lots more eyeballs onto your post than just your colleagues or just people that you normally interact with. The more you interact and engage on other people's posts, the more chance that you're going to show up in other and different people's algorithms. Now, I don't mean going and posting on somebody that's got no following. Like if you went and posted on someone that's got 25,000 followers plus, and you did that with 5 different people, watch your visibility go up massively in the newsfeed, and watch your impressions go up as well. How to gain more visibility to potential buyers. So that's about adding prospecting in as well. So all we're talking about today is content, but obviously if you want to get visible with potential buyers, you need to be adding and building your network with those types of people. We've got some sessions on that coming up. So when it comes to prospecting and outreach, you need to make sure you're adding those people into your network. But when you do connect with a potential prospect, for the next 7 days, you're going to show up in the newsfeed of those people that you've interacted with in the inbox. So that's one of the ways to get visible with potential buyers. The second thing I would do is I would ring the bell on the profile of your ideal clients, and I would get notified about their posts so that you can interact and get visible on their posts too. The recording will go up onto YouTube. It's normally same day. However, at 12 o'clock today, I'm doing a massive LinkedIn audio event all about Sales Navigator with Tracy Bedwell, and I am unlikely to get it up. Maybe it might be later this evening, probably tomorrow, more likely, the recording. So that's done. That's done. I'm just looking now at any more questions. Amazing. I think we've, there we go. Meg, what do you think about sharing LinkedIn posts? Is it a good idea to have a business profile and a personal profile and share the business posts, or vice versa? Right. So Meg, I would, just in terms of this, a LinkedIn personal profile will get 10 times the reach of a LinkedIn company page. So if you're going to do both, and I recommend having both if you run a business, if you're an employee, you will be encouraged, obviously, to share posts on the company page. Sharing doesn't really give you much reach at all, because when you share something, you haven't originally created that content. So shares and reposts, don't expect them to get very much engagement or visibility. But I would be recommending that you create maybe a personal profile post that does well on the newsfeed, and then reshare that to your company page. The other thing you can do with your personal and company, if you have a company page, is your company page can now like and comment on your personal profile posts. So whenever you do a post on the personal profile, I would recommend switching your account to your company page, liking and commenting as your company on the personal profile, and then doing the same the other way around as well. So there's a few ways you can cross-pollinate your personal and your company page. Okay, good. Yeah, what I'll do is there are 20 content themes. I haven't had time to go through all of them. What I'll do is on the notes underneath the replay, I'll pop the different 20 content themes underneath in the summary on YouTube, so that you guys have got the list of all of them. Is it important to have an image with your post, or do text-only posts perform as well or better? Text-only posts largely used to perform actually quite well. They used to be, if there was a good story in there, some good connection. The big thing about what will perform better is the hook. So the hook is the first line that people read when they read a piece of content. And the difference between a post doing very well and not doing very well is usually the first line, the first subject line of that particular piece of content. Now, I would recommend that you Google the emotions wheel. So just type in emotions wheel into Google, and this like colorful wheel will come up with lots and lots of different words in it that are linked to specific emotions: happy emotions, sad emotions, lonely emotions, lots of different things. And if you were to pick any one of those kind of words and use that emotion in your first line as your hook for that piece of content, you should see an increase in engagement on that post. So let me give you an example. Our CEO, Nick Jones, worth following, by the way, he creates great content. Nicholas Jones, Pipeline 44. He creates great content all the time, but he spends so much time on the hook, the first line of his particular content. So let's say he was doing a post about conversations he was having with his team. He could say, well, I had some good, I had some conversations with our staff this week. Like that could be how he starts his post. But he did a post last year that said, I am disgusted with my staff conversations this week. And by throwing in the word disgusted, it piques curiosity. People are like, whoa, what's happened over there? And it allowed that post to get lots and lots of clicks on the see more button, which drives engagement and drives the algorithm to show it to more people. But by changing it from, oh, I had some chats this week, to I'm disgusted with my staff conversations this week, it was all about bad bosses. And Nick at the time only had 4,000 followers, but that post got 80,000 impressions just by switching one word in the hook to make it more compelling for people to read. So you want to stop the scroll, right? You want to stop the scroll where people are like, you know, going through their phone and they're going through their screen like this. They're bored, basically, most people. They're either trying to sell something on LinkedIn or they're bored. They're going like this, and then something will stop them in their tracks. It could be a strong image, it could be a video, it could be a strong hook. But you'll notice that a lot of the posts on the newsfeed that do well or go quite viral are the ones that are having those kind of strong hooks. So I think that's us up. I know we're well past the hour, but I said that I would stay on for all the questions, and there were lots of them. Just type yes for me if you've come away with more ideas for content than you came in with today. Okay, good. Yes, 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 yes. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Now, as a little free gift for you, I'm actually going to give you all 100 content ideas, just in case you got stuck today and you couldn't find them. So what I'm going to do, or you couldn't come up with your own. So I'm going to post this into the chat box, and I will put it into, for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll find it underneath. So you'll go to pipeline44.com/content-ideas. There we go. You'll be able to go and get 100 content ideas. I said you'd leave with 100 content ideas. So hopefully you've come up with your own through the exercises that we've done, but you'll also have those there as well. So I'm just looking now. Meg, how regularly would you post a pure selling post? I wouldn't recommend posting any pure selling posts, honestly. If you're doing content the right way, people step forward regardless. So I wouldn't ever do a pure selling post. I wouldn't be putting like, hey, contact me, DM me if you want more information. Like, I wouldn't be doing any of that. The minute you sell, you repel. Pure and simple. Like, your content should never be designed to do that. There are loads of things I could talk about around that subject, Meg, but I don't have time today. But I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys on the next session. These are every week on Wednesdays at 9:30 in the morning, UK time. If you've registered already for this one, you'll get automatically notified for the next one. For those of you watching on YouTube, go to pipeline44.com/LinkedIn training, and you'll be able to register for the next event. Thank you, everyone. I hope you found a great time today. I have too, and look forward to seeing you all next week. I'm Sam Rathling, and remember, if you're not linked in, you're totally linked out.